Camera's rolling.
Baby, I'm too young to know any better, but I guess I'm just too old to care. I'm waiting on the morning light to clear the air. Now the sky is on with regret. Let it go, then you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you created. The one that you hated. Mother Baker said, bury your secret. And your tone and soul so black. You get fell out with all your footsteps running back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you created. The one that you
All right. Good morning, everyone out there in social media world. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jimmy Smith, and this is the first Big Show Talk with Jimmy Smith. My name is Jimmy, and I'll be your guys' host for the day, alongside of the great, infamous Eric, and my partner in crime, Dwayne Ward. Before we get started, social media, if you guys can do us a great favor and hit that like button real fast for us. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already done so. And of course, we'll give you ways on how you guys can contribute to the podcast by donations and things like that. Also, remember, this is an interactive show, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have any questions or comments, Eric will be fielding those comments today, and we will do our best to make sure we get to you. So let me give you a little bit of an introduction, if you guys don't mind. I've been doing coaching now for about a decade, and I've been in the fitness industry for about 18 years. I've been working with many, many people across the country and across the world in some cases, helping them just to better their health and wellness, not only physically, but also mentally. You know, in today's world, navigating the online dating markets, navigating relationships, and all the personal struggles that especially men go through, you know, we need someone to sound off with. We need a team of guys that we know, like, and trust to basically help us navigate this crazy world that we live in. So what I just try to do is I just try to share 20 years of knowledge on dealing with women, dealing with my guy friends, dealing with careers, dealing with health, dealing with wealth, and of course, dealing with spirituality and all the other things that come along with it. And I do the best I can to share my information with you guys in hopes to help you guys level up, be on your purpose, and be the most masculine man you can for your family, for yourself, and for your relationships. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host and partner in crime, Dwayne Ward. Dwayne, if you have any questions or you want to navigate this thing, go right ahead, my friend.
All right. Well, glad to be here. I wanted to, show off the spirit here. So I am now officially, Big Show with Jimmy. Yeah, no. That's the thing. Now I want to show off the T-shirt real quick. I got my shirt yesterday, and it is awesome. It's the see if I can. There's a wide angle lens there, but I got the shirt.
Instead of asking fathers to fight harder, start asking mothers why he had to fight it all. That deserves a hand clap.
Let me tell you.
Hey, that's a pretty nice looking guy on the front of that shirt, man.
I got weird looks from people. I'm gonna do this one from now on. Get the ladies all up in there. But No,
I mean,
again,
what did I go and do? I went ahead and got my own logo. Like, I'm official now.
You're official,
dude.
Yeah, you're totally official. But yeah, go guys and girls, go to dadtalktoday.com at the store, order your t-shirt, get the conversation started. I see a merch opportunity here in the future, with other shirts and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to, talk about anything, but I'm kind of like my new Tumblr.
Just endless plugins from Dwayne.
Yeah, but no, seriously, it depends on the mood. If I'm in there to get all whatever, but if I'm wanting to get the ladies, I just switch it around to this, so it all works out. Now, glad to be here. I'm a married dude, but as I talked about last week, I'm here to learn dating advice, and I've navigated. I've been divorced a couple times, so I'm excited. Rephrase that. I'm not excited to, learn new tips. I'm going to take, what you talk about as a married dude and apply it to my wife and how I can, help that. And I've got, friends that are in various stages in their walk of life that I can say, hey, this may work for you. This may, because it's just from what we've talked about off air, what I see in the public square, it's a minefield out there. So you taking your 20, 30, 40, whatever, how many years of experience you have in teaching people, everyone get your notepads out and start drinking this up. I do have questions, but I know either you'll answer them or we'll get into them.
Yeah, people are really struggling out there, aren't they? I mean, 20 years ago, whenever I was out there dating, when I was in my 20s, it looked a little different. I was out there in clubs, I was out there in bars, I was meeting people a little more holistically. I was being introduced by the people that I know and my friends, and they were saying, hey, there's this one great hot chick named Stacy. You should meet Stacy. And then we'd go to a house party or something, and I'd meet Stacy that way. But in today's world, it doesn't seem to happen that way much anymore. I mean, everyone's online right now, and they're kind of meeting people through clicks and on their phone. And then when you combine the fact that we're all kind of smothered in our careers and our families and our kids, it just makes it so much harder to get out there and actually meet people. Well, that's fine and that's fair, and the game has changed, but what we got to do is we got to understand how the rules change along with it. So we're going to have to navigate this whole new dating market, because a lot of us who are in our 40s, because I'm in my mid 40s, it just looks a little bit different. And like I said, the market has changed, and what people are looking for has changed, and what women generally pick men off of has been skewed a little bit and changed. An example of that would be that, women, of course, like good-looking men. They always have. But let's be honest, women do not pick men, generally speaking, by looks. Men will pick women by looks, but women pick men off of their ability to provide, protect, give security and peace to not only themselves physically, but also emotionally. Mm-hmm. And there's been plenty of times we've seen guys that are with some stone cold stunners, and they're not really all that good looking themselves. But those guys, I promise you, have a whole lot of things to bring to that woman, and women will absolutely go down in looks to go up and provide and protect. So, the reason why I bring that up is because now that we're online most of the time, let's call it 98% of us are meeting people online. What we're finding now is we're finding a bunch of women just like us. We've got our phones out and we're just swiping. Right. Mm-hmm. And what's the only thing that women are swiping men off of? Their looks. So they're looking at profile pictures. They're unable to talk to these men. They're unable to get a good snapshot of these men. So they're doing the best they can with, picking the kind of man that they would be attracted to. And that's what I mean when I say it skews the way that women are kind of dating, because women will oftentimes tell you that, a lot of the best looking men out there are not so much good men on the inside. And I fear that there's a lot of great stand-up, good quality dudes that may not be Fabio out there, may not have the looks to attract what they want, but they're just great guys. Let's take Dwayne and Eric, for example. If these guys were on the dating market right now, they'd be some catches. These two stand-up dudes,
I fugabooed my wife. I'm just gonna. You got to talk to her yesterday. It's pretty obvious. I lied and just snuck my way in. I used that picture that you had a word for it. I didn't even realize that was a thing, but where I made mine black and white, and I snagged her and pulled her in. So I don't know if I can do that same trick twice. Actually, I wanted to ask you a quick question because it just hit me, and I've got that issue. So you said that when you were in your 20s, you were going after Stacy. I'm guessing now you're going after Stacy's mom.
I heard she's got it going on.
Yeah. Sorry. Take it away.
Nice. Very nice.
I couldn't help it. This is the way the brain works. And maybe that's, that I got to say, that's one of the things. I mean, looks aren't everything. Having that personality, the comedic, the dorkness and all that stuff, it tends to do, being honest and authentic and who you are, which I'm a dork. That seems to help out in this marketplace. But from that, you can't get that humor, the dorkiness, whatever, from the swipes. They're
right,
looking for those
exactly. Yeah. So
things.
I mean, and you're 100% correct. The reason why I'm bringing up the looks is because since we're kind of forced into this, whether or not women or men want to pick off of looks is irrelevant. We're forced into having to do so because that's the first thing we see. But going further into your bio and further into, how you text back and forth and communicate back and forth really is the thing that's going to seal the deal. But you have to understand that the very first thing that's going to get someone to even give you a chance is how well you put out that profile picture.
Right.
Dwayne, the word that you were looking for before was a pattern disrupt. That's what I was calling it for. And for those at home, if you guys can, check out last week's podcast that we did. I go into very much depth on how to put together a great profile. And what Dwayne's alluding to is that, Dwayne was kind of saying, hey, I didn't have all the best pictures in the world, but what he did do to attract the attention of his now wife is he actually did unknowingly a pattern disrupt, which is he changed the picture, his profile picture, to a black and white photo. So think about this, right? His wife, your wife is Brandy, right? Is it Brandy?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So Brandy's online, whatever, and she's swiping through these different profiles, and she comes across this black and white photo, and that pattern disrupt allowed her to stop for a second and give Dwayne the 3 or 4 seconds that he needed for her to kind of say, okay, well, what's up with this guy? And then she swiped right, and Dwayne uses charm, and the rest is history. And now Dwayne's all locked down, and he did something. He did something right because he got her to at least carve off one bedroom for this seemingly amazing Voltron, Megatron,
I hit all that.
Transformers. Is Skeletor back there? I don't even know, but there's a whole bunch of just fantastic stuff back there. I have a feeling that Dwayne's probably not allowed to come out of that room, but nonetheless, it's a great room to be in. So the end result is that pattern disrupt moved into a long-term relationship that led to marriage. And so, these are tips and stuff that I'm trying to give men and women out there to be the best version of themselves. So check out last week's podcast.
Definitely.
Jimmy, let me ask you a question real quick. We got a comment from Miss Deborah Bedoya. She said, I have to say that there is a whole lot of catfishing going on with either side. After 23 years single by choice, in order to raise my son, I went online and So I know you talked a little bit about that last week, but what are some of the tips these guys can watch out for in order not to get catfished? Because nothing sucks more than the person showing up and being, who the hell are you? It's Freddie Jackson.
That's what Brandy did.
Freddie Jackson. Yes. And she's absolutely right. You'll see women get catfished a lot more than you'll see men get catfished. And there is a reason for that. And the reason's honestly kind of sad if you think about it. And I'm gonna point the fingers a little bit towards the women on this one. And here's what I mean by that. Okay. When it comes to dating, when it comes to intercourse, when it comes to relations, women control access to that, and they've always controlled and been able to change the rules of that, right? So if you go back 100 years ago, the rule is that you must wed a woman in order to be with her intimately. And in today's world, women have changed the rules, and we are where we're at. Not here to debate that right now, but that's where we're at. So let me kind of explain to everyone why the catfishing is so rampant nowadays, and it's actually pretty sad. Here's why. Because women are very hypergamous. They are looking for the best caliber of man that they can get out there, right? And that's okay. I completely understand. Honestly, if I was a woman, I'd want the best quality of man that I could as well. So no heat, no judgment on it. But here's what we've created here, okay? we've created a world where if we give participation trophies out to everyone who plays the game, then no one understands truly where they lie. Okay. If I'm on a team and I am just an okay player, I'm probably not going to be a starter. And whenever I do get in the game, I'm going to contribute, but I'm not going to contribute in a way that some of the guys who are better than me will contribute. Well, I have to understand that I'm good enough to make the team, but I'm not good enough to be an all-star player. And there's nothing wrong with that. I can do one of two things. I can accept it, or I can level myself up and be the best version of myself. But, no matter how good I play basketball, I'm never going to be a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan. I just don't have that skill, guys. And I'm okay saying that. Maybe basketball is not quite for me, but here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to allow people to look at me and go, you are as good as Michael Jordan. And I know you are shooting 2 for 10, but you still are the best out there. And then I get a delusional mindset where I walk around actually thinking that I'm LeBron James or Michael Jordan. And then I'm approaching NBA teams saying I deserve all this money because I'm as good as Michael Jordan. And they're looking at me like, I don't think so. And so reality hits me in the face. So I go home talking about how there's no good basketball managers out there anymore because they don't see my value. Well, doesn't that transfer to the dating market? Yeah. Yeah. You get a lot of women out there who have been told that they're queens, that they're, don't stink, that they can be as big as they want to on the scale. And the bigger they get, the more bold and beautiful they apparently become. They can get out there and they can have multiple babies with multiple men outside of wedlock. They can ring up their body counts. And all those things are supposed to just be socially accepted by men. And because they're forcing men to be perfectly fine that they rode the sea carousel for the last 20 years. And we're not supposed to be upset about that. Okay. Well, let me tell you something. You can have your social media and you can have your women's groups and you can be as delusional as you want to, but the world will tell you exactly where you stand. Okay. So I say all that to bring to this point. Now that women are out there on the open dating market, you've got these women who are all looking for the top tier of men. They're looking for the men that are the tallest, men that are most successful, making the most money, the best looking, the best in bed, and all these things. So you've got 99% of all these women looking for the top 10% of men. And so what you find now is you find that 90% or 80% of the men out there are not getting all that many matches. I mean, they're very, very much alone. And let me tell you something. I counsel and I coach these men and women. You have to understand something. You do not know loneliness until you are a man with an average man. Because when you're an average man, you have true unbridled loneliness. The world does not care about men the way that world cares about women. The world only cares about men when we're able to produce some sort of resource to the people around us. But if we are just average right down the line, and let's be honest, the word average comes for a reason. Most of us are average. And it's not an insult. It's just the truth. Okay. Yeah. If you're a man and you're just average and do not fall in that top 10 or 20% of men out there, the stats show, and I talked about this last week, that for every 100 swipes that a man makes, he gets between 0 and 5 matches per 100 swipes. So men are out there being rejected 95% of the time. So what does that have to do with catfishing? Well, if it's not obvious by now, then let me go ahead and drive the point straight home. You've got a large line share of men who get no matches at all. And these men are thinking that they don't get matches because they have no value. They're not good looking enough. They're not successful enough. They're not all these things. These men are so lonely that they would rather put on the fake persona of becoming someone else just to staff off the sting of loneliness for a week, to be able to be engaged and have a conversation with a good looking woman than be alone. That's the truth. Yeah. So when you want to know why catfishing happens, it's because the sad truth is these men are so lonely that they would actually rather pretend that they're Chad and portray themselves into being something that they're not, even though they know it'll never go anywhere, because at least they won't feel lonely tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, to that point though, I mean, you got, I mean, those same guys are looking at the Chads and all that stuff, and all these women are just fawning over them, and they're like, well, I want a cut of that too. So they're like, well, I guess I'll just, borrow my best friend's pictures, or something like that when I go out dating, and put that. There's gonna be a bunch of fake Jimmy things out there in about a couple days. But I mean, these guys are looking and seeing that these women, they're being passed over. They go to the bar or whatever, and they see all these girls going for the hot guys with top whatever percent. And they're like, I want that, and then they make that, well, in my opinion, immoral decision to catfish or to do those things. And same with the women. Women do it, I don't know, more subtly. They'll do the up close picture of themselves to hide the lifetime of poor decisions behind it. Or
Right.
I'm trying to figure out a nice way to say that. I shouldn't even be nice. I mean, that's catfishing. Or pictures from 20 years ago. Or they do the group photo with them and 3 other girls that are hot, and then they make it sound like it's the hot one, not them, and then try to pull people in that way. Because I don't know, I've seen both sides, but I've seen the outright catfishing. And then I hear from ladies that I can't get a date, I can't get a whatever. And the what I'm seeing is that and that's in the upper age group, usually late 30s, early 40s on up. Women are like, I can't get a man. Well, I would say those same men are like, look, I can get a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, because again, they're looking for the upper echelon. The upper echelon is saying, why would I go for a 1970 Studebaker or something when I can get a Ferrari? Or to use car analogy, why would I do that? We talk about catfishing, but there's the other side of that. The men, the top 5% that women have pushed to that spot, are going, I can pick you. Why would I want to settle down?
100%. And that's what women don't understand. If women control the rules of the online dating market or the rules for sex or whatever, then they're going to have to deal with the repercussions of making those rules. And to your point, Dwayne, what's transpired is that the top 10% of guys are getting a whole lot of these matches, right? And you've got the women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s chasing these guys, but you also got women who are 3, 4s, and 5s chasing these top guys. And these 3, 4s, and 5s are so delusional that they actually think that they'll be able to get one of these guys to keep them. Right. But they don't understand that there's no correlation between these guys coming over and smashing them compared to them keeping them. Completely different standard. Exactly. Completely. Trust me, ladies, the prerequisite of having these men come over and hitting it on a Friday night is a whole lot lower than their standards if you're expecting them to pick you, only you, and taking themselves out of the dating market. You've got to be a very, very small percentage of high value type of woman. And most women are not going to qualify to get one of these higher valued men. And to Dwayne's point, let me just kind of share with you what I mean by that. What Dwayne's alluding to is that you've got this guy who's very successful with women, and you got these women who all want him to pick her. And if he can get an 8, 9, and 10, and he can get a woman that's 25 to 35 years old, I'm not trying to be mean, but let me just, put yourself in that man's shoes. Why would he choose a 40-plus-year-old woman? Why would he choose a 30-year-old woman with kids? Why would he choose any woman that has kids or any woman who's over, let's say, 35 or 40, when he can easily get a 25 or 30-year-old with no kids at all? Why? Why would he? Because you're awesome? Because you are you? Because he gets me? You're going to have to bring something more than what's downstairs to offer him to get him to be in a monogamous relationship, because what you're going to find out, and a lot of women are finding this out, is that these guys are not monogamous. When you look at the top echelon of men in the history of time, dukes, earls, kings, today's politicians, actors, athletes, these men, are they monogamous? No, they're not. And chances are they're not going to be. So be careful what you want, ladies, because if you do want one of these guys who are making 6 figures plus and have access to a lot of women, you're going to have to share him.
Yeah.
You're just going to. You're going to have to share them. And some of you will be completely fine going, hey, as long as he provides and protects, I'll share him with other women. But most of women are going to be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to share my man. Fine. Then you need to lower your standards of men, because those men are not going to be monogamous. You might find one or two, but the chances of finding a man that will be monogamous in that high caliber of man, you might as well win the lottery. You might as well just play the lottery and try to win it, because I think your chances are better than that. Yeah, stop passing up these good stand-up dudes that are out there because you're chasing high dollars, high looks, whatever. There are a lot of men that are on this channel listening right now that would love you for the rest of your life if you were a good woman to them, and you're choosing the guys who are just going to break your heart.
Yeah. Well, two things. I don't know if you want to talk about the wall. In the circles that, I've done research in, we talk about the wall. And then we talk about, these guys. I mean, I'm 50. I've been married a few times. I've unfortunately been divorced a few times, and I've learned, I've suffered that pain. And then I'm supposed to go into a relationship with a female that I associate with. They have the ability to do these things to me. Why would I want to get into a monogamous, long-term, legal union with that person when, because again, when I walked down the aisle the first time at 22, I didn't walk down the aisle going, wow, this person's going to take everything I own, cause me all this stress, try to get me put in jail, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, all right, I got to think about this. So that, the next time I'm like, whoa, we got to, pump the brakes here. I can't trust you the same way I trusted a person when I first walked down the aisle, because, when I walked down the aisle the first time, I wasn't like, well, I can't wait for a couple more years. We're going to, do all these horrible things to me. Let's get married. They get scared, but you got that. And then you have the wall. And I don't know if you want to touch the wall. I know it's a touchy topic for the fairer sex, but it's a reality of life. But
yeah. Well, let's go back to what we talked about 10 minutes ago about men's value, right? So men are born with no intrinsic value. We have to earn our value. Mm-hmm. Women are born with their value, and I'll explain why in a second. So when you're a young man, the world doesn't care about you. You can't offer anything to the world, and you can't offer anything to a woman. Yep. If women pick men off of provide and protect, then that would mean inherently that you are at your lowest value as a man when you're, to your point, Dwayne, 22 years old. The reason why you're not worrying about splitting assets and being divorced and having all your 401ks peeled apart is because when you were 22, you didn't have a 401k. You didn't have assets. Right. You were, if you were anything like me, you were on the broke folk program at 22, right? Yeah. But you get into 32 and especially 42, and now you have 20 years of building yourself up, and now you have a pretty good little chunk in your 401k, and you've got cars and maybe a house and maybe some mutual funds or whatever. Well, now you are absolutely worried about that, and so that's why. When men are at their biggest peak in their sexual marketplace value between the ages of like 45 and 60. Why? Because men hit their financial stride between 45 and 60 years old. So as men get older, we increase in value, assuming we're increasing in assets. But when women get older, they decrease in value. And I don't mean that to be an insult. I don't want to hear a whole bunch of hate by women. The reason why I say that is because if men cherish beauty and fitness first, not all, but first, when are you your most beautiful and fit? When you're younger. So that's why I say women are given their inherent value, but men must earn it. Let me give you a quick example. You got a $100 million yacht, and you've got a guy who's 55 or 60 years old. He's got this huge beer belly. He's hairy. His back is hairy. His chest is hairy. His belly is hairy.
My ears hairy.
His ears are hairy. And what kind of chicks are on that yacht? A bunch of 20-year-olds, bunch of 25-year-old hotties. Are those girls going to the gym 5 days a week to get that body? No. Those girls are eating Big Mac value meals and still looking skinny, because we all did it when we were 22 years old. We could eat Big Macs and still look skinny. Those girls didn't have to do a damn thing to look the way that they do. They were given that beauty. So here's my point. What did those women have to do to get on that yacht? Nothing. All they had to do was be born. What did that man have to do to get on the yacht? He had to make $100 million.
Right.
That's what I mean. Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as the wall goes, what Dwayne's referring to when it comes to the wall is basically aging out. And if this is gonna be hard to hear, but I'm gonna be honest. Okay, it's gonna be hard to hear.
Yeah.
But and men don't talk about this a lot. They don't, because we don't like to hurt women's feelings. But women lie to themselves so much to where you guys are becoming delusional. But let me tell you what men are saying, and I speak to hundreds of them, if not thousands, over the course of my years on this planet. If you are a 8 or 9 on a scale of hotness and you hit the age of 30, you drop 1 point. If you are 8 or 9 in hotness and you have 1 child or 2 children, you drop 2 points. Okay. So if you're an 8 and you've got kids, you can't be any more than a 6. You can't. Okay. And if you are over 30 and you're an 8 and you got 2 kids, you're a 5. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. You're now just average. And why? Because men are not rushing to the altar in today's world to marry women with children, because men, this ain't 1970s, guys. Men are not, back then men were like, hey, you're a real man. You took on another man's child. In today's world, it is a bad deal for a man to raise another man's kids. Just a bad deal. And my generation X, is kind of the last generation willing and able to do that. But you go ahead and try to get one of these millennials or zennials to marry a woman with kids. Good luck. Good luck. They ain't having it. Okay. They're not having it. So you've got to be careful, ladies, on who you allow in your space and who you allow to shoot up the nightclub, if you know what I mean, downstairs, and giving babies to, because it's going to affect your sexual marketplace value greatly. The reason why you hit the wall as a female at 35 years old has nothing to do with the fact that you're not still good looking or whatever. I know some stunning 40-year-olds and 45-year-olds. It's not quite like that. It's more of, you have to understand, why would a man marry a woman? Well, why? Right. The main reason, not only reason, but the main reason why men get married is to start families. So once you hit 35 years old as a female, geriatric pregnancy begins. That's why you hit the wall, because you're aging out. By the time you're 40, your eggs are just about dried up. Now, of course, we'll probably all have stories where you know someone who is 42 and can give birth to a healthy baby. Fair enough. But the exception doesn't overtake the rule.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And the chances of birth defects after 35 continue to go up as the years progress. Mm-hmm. I don't know many people who would have a preference for children with birth defects. I think most would want their babies to be healthy. Right. So if a man has a choice between a 38-year-old woman and a 28-year-old woman, and they both look the same, and they're both kind and beautiful and feminine, who is he going to choose? He's going to likely choose the one that's 28. Now, not in all cases, not all. Right. Okay. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, this is why when women get into the latter part of their 30s, they start to have a harder time. And I'm going to be a little cruel here, and I don't mean to be brash, but if you haven't been married by 40 years old and you're a woman, you're pretty much done. You're pretty much done. Yeah. Because when you look at the stats, only, and I'm a stats guy, mm-hmm. only 2.9% of single women over 40 get married. Wow. 2.9. So round it up to 3%. And if your standards as a woman is high and you want these tall guys or you want these wealthy guys, good luck. 1%. Good luck. Yeah. Head on down to the ASPCA, get yourself a nice little furry critter and just love up on them for the rest of your life, because you're gonna struggle.
And I mean, talk about the physical part. I mean, we still have unpacking to do on the social and the emotional part of it. If I would meet a girl and the first thing she wants to do is hop in bed, I'm like, personally, I'm like, whoa. I know I may be a little different than other guys, but I was like, when I was dating after my divorce, I was like, whoa, back that up there a bit there, honey. I want to learn. I want to get to know you, because my picker, PICKER, is obviously wrong, because I've went down this a few times. Let's get to know each other. And I hear words like, my kids are my world, and I'm a feminist. I'm the men are idiots, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't want to be around. I don't want to be in any kind of relationship with you. I couldn't stomach being around you. And I see that, my own personal experience, and talking to friends and all the communities and things like that, that when they go out on these dates, these women are, and I'm sure there's going to be guys who do the other part for the ladies that are out there, but the women are like, they come up, they got that red hair. No offense to red hair folk, but that throws out a vibe. But I'm a feminist and I'm this and I'm independent and I'm this and all this other stuff, and I'm like, that's not what a man over 40 is. I'm not interested in that.
Right. Let me tell you something, ladies. And Dwayne brings up a good point. If you are one of these feminists, if you are, kind of like a man-hating kind of a thing, you want to pull this whole equality partnership, kind of a stance. High-value men, you are invisible to them. You are invisible to them.
Yeah.
Let me tell you right now. Okay, you are. Everyone likes to talk about partnership and things like that because it sounds great, but there really isn't a partnership in a relationship. When you ask women what it is that they want, you'll ask them, hey, do you want a man who is taller than you? Yes. You want a man who makes more money than you? Yes. You want a man who's more intelligent than you? Yes. Do you want a man who's more assertive and successful than you? Yes. Do you want a man who's wiser than you? Yes. Well, then you're looking for your superior then. That's what you're looking for. And that's fine. Because again, women want to be led. So how is that a partnership, right? If a man makes more money than you, he provides, he protects, he funds most of the relationship. He's the one that's supposed to lead. How is that a partnership? It's not a 50-50 thing. Corporations don't have two CEOs. Okay. Countries don't have two presidents. There's a president and a vice president. And in my opinion, I think God made us all equally just as balanced as we should be. If everyone falls into their natural roles, and she falls into her feminine and he falls into his masculine, it works perfectly.
Yeah.
Because these women that I deal with, they don't want to get out there and they don't want to do that grind. They don't want to lead. They don't want to make all these decisions. They don't want to have to, mow the lawn and take care of the kids and work a full-time job and deal with corporate stress they don't want to do that stuff. They just want to be at peace. Let me take that load off of your shoulders. Okay. Shoulders, these are meant for stress, not hips. Hips are not meant for stress. Shoulders are meant for stress. Men were built for this stuff. We handle it, generally speaking, better. So fall into your feminine, be the best VP you can, help him be the best kind and caliber of man that he could ever be without you. And it's not about oppression. It's not about, dictatorship. I don't make any major decisions. I don't even make any medium decisions without consulting my woman first.
Oh yeah.
Never.
Yeah. And that's, well, I mean, and I know everyone here knows my wife and all that stuff. And, I know people get that tendency, they hear one thing, they go completely on the other side. My wife and I, we are equal, created different. I've had this conversation with her actually when we first started dating, which is the time to do it, not after you get married. Just a little free advice out there. But we are equals. And actually, she makes a number of the decisions. I mean, we're doing our cabinets right now. She picked the colors. She did all that stuff because I suck at it. Those are her strengths. But we start going, hey, how are we going to retire? She just goes, you figure that out. And we sit and talk. Hey, I'm thinking about this, and we compliment each other. That's the way it's supposed to be. Not this. I'm woman. Hear me roar, and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, if you got to say that over and over, you're not bringing anything to the table. I know what I'm rant there.
I hear a lot of times women will say, well, if the guy I'm on a date with has to talk about how alpha he is, he's probably not alpha, right? So when a woman talks about how strong she is, she's likely not strong. But Dwayne's right. I mean, here's the reality. Okay, this is not about saying, hey, this ain't a partnership. It's not about oppression, and I'm gonna make her just be my slave. Let's grow up, okay? Yeah. We're adults here. Let's freaking grow up. Yep. This is not about oppression. This is about falling into our natural roles, and I take care of my shit, and she takes care of hers. The reality, to Dwayne's point, is that women make about 80% of all the decisions in a relationships.
Yeah.
They do. I don't want to make the choice on what kind of almond milk she decides that she wants to put in a shopping cart. Okay. I don't care what color the cabinets are. Men are very, very easy when it comes to that. Okay. I don't care if it's a light wood color or medium or dark wood color. Honey, what do you want? I like medium wood. Okay, well then let's go with medium wood. I'm fine. I just want to make you happy. I'm cool with that.
Right.
So it's not about oppression, but what men want to grab a hold of is the main fundamental decisions that influence the culture of the relationship. And those are the family's health, the family's wealth, spirituality, careers, and friends and family. So, right, Sabrina, well said. Submissive does not mean a slave or a doormat. 100%. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for saying that. So, if you're in a relationship, if a woman's in a relationship with me, I do not care about the minute things. Do whatever you want, babe. But I do care about the health of our family, the health of our physical health, our financial health, our spiritual health, all those things. So I'm going to be making a decision on cutting back on finances. I'm going to say we're going to be saving this much money every month, and you get this much money and I get this much money. Do you agree? No, you don't agree. Okay, let's talk about it, and then let's make a decision. And the reason why I tell the women that I deal with, and they'll tell you this is not a 50-50. This is a 51-49. Okay, I have 51, and here's why I say that. Because there's going to be a time, it's bound to happen, where we are at an impasse, and I'm going to go this way and she's going to go that way. Okay, I'm going to plead my case, but let's go ahead and do a hypothetical. We both pleaded our cases and we're just at an impasse. There has to be a decision that's made, and that's why it can't be 50-50. Right. Because someone has to make the final decision. Well, I lead my family, so I'm going to make that final decision. It's a rare occasion that it happens, but at the end of the day, if I'm going to be responsible for the success or failure of my relationship, then I must be the one that can make the decisions of the success and failure of that relationship.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to make that final decision, I understand that sometimes it may not be my fault why it fell apart, but it's still my responsibility why it fell apart. So I'm going to make that final decision, and I will be happy to deal with the repercussions of the success or failure of it. So that's pretty much my stance on it. When guys are getting out there and they're navigating the dating world to try to find one of these women, oftentimes, as well as I try to make sure that they understand that depending on the decade of women that they date, also what will greatly influence, what they're going to be finding out there. So, me personally, I'm in my mid 40s, and I date women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Those are my age groups.
I was going to ask you, like navigating, what's that dating market out there that, your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and then of course the inverse, as you're in your mid 40s, dating a 20, 30, 40 plus year old, and then, also flipping it over, a 20-year-old dating a 20, 30, 40-year-old, I want to hear about that, because I'm sure you got a wealth of knowledge.
It's interesting. So it's interesting, but if men can understand what they're going to get into, and same as women, to your point, if they can understand what they're going to get into, then it helps you understand. It helps you be able to see which ones are the good ones. Okay, right. Because the water flows in a very it flows in one way, and if you can find someone who flows in a different way, you got to be able to point that out, because those are your diamonds in the rough, and you got to make sure you pluck them out of that mud. The most challenging, my least favorite, is dating women in their 20s. I'm gonna be honest. That's my least favorite. Because of their personal infrastructure, the way they're made up on the inside. They are my favorite on the outside.
Okay, I was gonna go.
Yeah. So when it comes to getting with them in the bedroom, they're my favorite because they're usually the most beautiful and they're usually the most fit. But since I'm looking for an LTR right now, they happen to be my least favorite because of how they were raised, to be honest. Women
Yeah.
in their 20s are mostly raised to be independent, to not need a man,
Mhm.
to be a boss bee, to be promiscuous. They're almost given trophies for getting out there and running up their body count. And when you listen to the songs by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, all these things, they're talking about how women can be players too. Like, what foolishness and idiocracy has taken over the dating world to where you actually think that it's a good idea to go up there and run your body count up, and then you brag about it. And then whenever you get into your older ages, you expect a man to not care. Oh my Lord. Like, I mean, holy cow. If I was to write a book on what not to do, that would be what would be in that book.
Well,
So
are these women, are they able, like when they say, I'm in my 20s, I'm strong, I'm independent, I'm whatever, are they able to back that up? Are they, living on their own and paying all their bills and all that?
no.
Is it? Okay.
No.
I was 99.9% sure that was gonna be the answer. I was like, because I hear all these women talking about, I'm strong, I'm independent, I've got all blah, blah, blah. And then they're getting, $3,000 a month in child support from 3 different baby daddies. They got the little green card that comes once a month for them. They get to shop with, and then they get this and they get this, and a weird, and I see a check from baby daddy, whatever, and daddy here because they was removed from the kid's life. And this is the way he feels he can, support his child. Now that she's an adult and all that. Okay, so it sounds like 99% of the time, these strong, independent women are everything but that.
100%. And that's why a lot of these guys are listening to this right now, and they're laughing as we're talking about this, is because men are not stupid. Women are out there will be the first one to tell you how proud they are that they don't need a man, but they're the ones that are dependent on men the most. Because women don't generally make as much money as men, because they don't want to get into the types of work that men do to make more money. Men work more hours on per week than women generally do.
Yep.
Women are more agreeable and men are less agreeable. So we're pushing for more raises. We are more likely to not take vacations or sick days. We're more likely to stay with a job longer, things like that. So we tend to make a few grand more per year. And these women out there, they're supplementing their income by having things like alimony sometimes, or child support sometimes. Like, they actually will use these checks and brag as though it's a source of income that they've provided. But all it is a man scratching that check for them. You can't take credit for free shit. The men are scratching the check for this stuff. And then who do you think is on government assistance more, men or women?
Oh, well, I know the data, women.
Women, by and large. It's not even close. And so who pays more in taxes to the government, men or women?
Men.
So here we are, women having food stamps and government assistance on their housing paid for by men.
But they're strong and independent.
Strong and independent. Yeah. Well, these men out here who are making something of themselves and paying their own bills, they're not getting alimony, are they? They're not getting child support by and large, are they? And they're not getting government assistance by and large, are they? So when a man says he's independent, it looks a whole lot different than a woman who says she's independent. And another thing that just is absolutely eye-rolling to a lot of men is that these women will actually brag about how they pay their own car and they pay their own rent and they pay for their own kids. They have their own jobs, right? And they will brag about it as though it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And men are laughing because when men hear these things, they're thinking to themselves, that is the bare minimum that men have to do in order to even begin to date.
Right.
I said this even last week. If a man doesn't have a car, he can't even date. If he doesn't have a job, he can't date. If he doesn't even have his own place and he has a bunch of roommates, he cannot begin to date.
Yeah.
So the same things that women are bragging about are the prerequisite that men must do to even get out on the dating market. So women, please stop bragging about things that are the bare minimum that we have to do to even begin to do this process.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So you hear that a lot of the ladies in their 20s, I mean, I would argue 30s, 40s, and on up. But you're the expert. Do they do the exact same? I mean, when do they finally go? Yeah, all right, this ain't gonna work. The strong, independent nonsense ain't gonna work no more. I need to. Is that 20, or does it ever change? Or are they, got their 3 cats and going, I'm still strong, independent, or when does that change? Or does it?
It does. It does change.
It does. Okay.
So it does. Yeah. And it changes after they hit the wall. So
the wall.
Yeah. So in the 20s, in their 20s, you got a whole lot of boss bees out there trying to making their career, running up their body counts, going through school, things like that. Then they get into their 30s and they, for the first time, pick their head up and realize that they're getting ready to hit that wall. And they decide, you know what? I've already kind of ran through 20 dudes. So I like to just settle down and have one, because my girlfriends are getting married and they're having these babies and I want them too. So this should be no big deal. I should be able to easily find myself a husband, because I attract a whole bunch of men. Yeah. So that it must be super easy to get one to say I do. Guess what, ladies? It ain't going to happen that way. And an observable reality will prove that it can happen that way. Let me share with you why it's not going to happen that way. Because women control access to sex. They say who gets it and who doesn't get it. So when men in their 20s and 30s are pounding them down for sex, women get to choose who they sleep with or who doesn't.
Right.
But who controls access to relationships? Is it men or women?
Well, I know the men.
Yeah, men. Men control access to relationships. We're the ones that say you are my girlfriend or you're not my girlfriend.
Right.
We're the ones that say, will you marry me? And we become engaged. And we're the ones that say, you're my wife or you're not my wife. Women are not getting down on one knee and proposing to men, not mass. So 99.99% of all men engage and start relationships. Well, when women pick their head up in their 30s and they finally want one of these relationships, they're realizing that it's very tough to find them, because they don't understand that they don't control access to that. We do.
Right. Yeah.
And men are going, but you're 36 and I can just get myself a 29-year-old. Like, why? I don't know. And plus, didn't my boy Dan hit that like 2 years ago? Like, didn't you date Dan and Steve also? I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah.
And so then they get into their 30s and they start pushing up on their 40s. And by the time women are in their 40s, sometimes they're already divorced. Sometimes they've never been married. They've already got kids. And now they're just bitter. A lot of women in their 40s are thinking that there are no good men out there at all anymore. Yeah. They are just dead set in their mind that there are no good men out there. That's not true. Right. That's not true. Men want relationships. They do. Yeah. Half the men in this country are already married. That's proof they want relationships, because they initiated it. And out of the remaining 50%, let's just say 30% of those guys, they want a relationship. They're just not in one right now. So what's 50 plus 30, 80? That would mean 8 out of 10 men would prefer to be in a relationship. But if a woman's not able to get a man to commit to her, then you must start taking accountability and realizing that the guys who want relationships, you are probably invisible to those guys. You're moving and talking and wording the things that you say and do in a way to where you disqualify yourself. I'm going to put a freaking hidden camera on my body so you guys can hear some of the absurd stuff I hear in a date. And then we all can just laugh about the time where she said something that disqualified herself. Women, you really have to understand that you're going to have to move in a way that looks a little different when you're trying to attract a relationship with a man compared to if you're just trying to bet him.
So they moved into their 40s. Reality has totally sunk in. They got the punch card to the ASPCA. 50s, 60s. I mean, does it ever get any better for them, or is it pretty much just kind of game over? I guess I'll talk to the ladies first. Sounds like we've been kind of talking about that for them. Does it get any better?
It can, okay. Yes. But it's only going to get better. That answers the same answer to the question that when men say, hey, does it ever get better? Can I ever get a girlfriend or a wife? Yes, it does. But it's going to take a whole lot of inward looking and a whole lot of personal self-development. Okay. So the short answer, because we could do a podcast on just this by itself, the short answer is that if you're a female having a hard time, you need to start talking to men and asking them, how they experience you. If you're a woman, if you're a woman and you cannot get yourself a long-term relationship, then let me ask you a question. Why have you not went back to the last 5 guys you dated and asked them, hey, ex-boyfriend, how was it dating me? How did you experience me? Would you have done it all over again? Be honest with me. You know, what were the goods and the bads of dating me? If you've never asked anyone from your past that you've dated how it was to experience you, then how can you ever expect to level yourself up and attract the kind of man you want? So that would be the first thing that I would say when it comes to, you know, turning this whole thing around.
Yeah, well, that's good. So, all right. So we kind of, I mean,
hey,
like
before we move on, let me give a quick little shout out to 2 of my boys that I saw on here. Rich Massa, old friend of mine, love that guy. That's a stone cold killer right there. There he is, right there. There he is. That's my boy Rich, and also Jay. I saw Jay pop up there too from Elite SMP. Love that guy. So what's up, boy? What's up, boys?
Get them in here. Yeah. Hopefully they have their notepads out and they're writing this stuff down and going.
Oh, yeah. Both of those guys have heard me talk about this a whole lot. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Jay and Rich, those are 2 guys that could be on this podcast right now sharing a lot of this information because they know the deal.
Well, that's another thing too, is that guys over the years we've gotten a little smarter in this area. I mean, before, when we were younger and we didn't understand the kind of how things worked, some of that's youth, you know, we didn't understand, you know, when you know she was playing her games or doing this or the hypergamous nature. I didn't know what that was until I was in my late 30s and all that. But now with access to the information out there and talking to other guys and actually talking about these things, so we know that we're not alone. These guys are getting, we call it red pill. We're smart enough to know, when the girl comes to you and says she doesn't believe in playing games and she's not like that, she is like that, you know, those type of things. But yeah, I want to kind of also kind of flip it around. We're talking about, you know, the one sex in the 20, 30, 40s. I guess flip that script around, and for the dudes, what, you know, 20, 30s, 40s, and then, you know, dating, how does that, what does that look like for guys dating that in those age groups?
So, you know, as far as like what women are seeing from guys in those groups, that's what you're asking? Yeah. So what women are seeing is that, you know, these guys in their 20s, they are by and large just a bunch of players. And ladies, I would not recommend dating any man in their 20s. Just don't. Even if he does want a long-term relationship and he's being serious about it, he doesn't make the money that he needs to even start a family. Just don't even deal with him unless you're willing to level up with him all the way through, and you want to take that risk, you want to take that chance. If you find a guy that is extremely ambitious and you want to roll that dice, fair enough, cool. Right. But by and large, I would not even deal if assuming a woman wants an LTR. If a woman just wants to ring up her body count, those guys in their 20s will be more than happy to oblige. But if you want a LTR, then I would start looking at men in your 30s, because men in their 20s are just not looking for relationships by and large, and even if they are, they can't afford one. When a man gets into his 20s, he's finally starting to kind of slow down on wanting to conquer so many women, but there's still plenty of men out there who will never grow out of that. But at least now in your 20s, he's kind of starting to become more relationship minded, and he's starting to get to a point to where he can actually afford to have fund a marriage at the very least. So I would begin kind of looking there in your 20s. But if you are the kind of woman who wants a plug and play kind of guy, and you don't want to build a boo, you know, the old build a bear kind of thing, a build a boo. Yeah. So if you're the kind of woman who wants a guy who's already there, and you want to be able to just take him and plug him into your life, you've got to start looking at men in your 40s. You got to.
Wow.
Men in their. Go ahead.
Well, oh man, because I remember myself at that age, and I wanted a partner that we would start from nothing, and just like the John Cougar Mellencamp songs and all the other ones where we build our life together and we build that empire. I wanted a woman that I could lock hips, shoulders, whatever with, and we would build our empire together. And, you know, when you were saying that, I was like, oh, yeah, don't even mess with a guy in his 20s. And because I was like, I want to conquer the world. I want a woman by my side that we're going to go out there and kick ass together. And, you know, we're going to have, it's going to be, you know, the world. I mean, you were saying, don't even do that. And what you're saying, though, is that it almost in a good way, it almost ticks me off because I'm like, I'm thinking of a race. I'm thinking like, you know, the mile long race, let's say, and the guy is running, he's busting his butt and working till 4 a.m. and he gets to the very end, and then the woman comes in and goes, "Yay, we made it!" Right. And I'm just like, oh, that ticks me off.
Fair enough. But keep this in mind, okay? When a woman's in her 20s, is she or is she not at the highest peak of her sexual marketplace value?
Yeah, you're talking for the ladies. You're absolutely right. Yeah, if she is gonna, you know, bag the best dude, the whole hypergamy thing in her 20s is it. Lock that guy down, throw the prenup out, lock him in. Yeah.
So here's my follow-up question.
Okay.
When a man's in his 20s, is he at the highest peak of his sexual marketplace value or the lowest?
Oh God, lowest. I mean.
So think about what you had mentioned earlier, right? You see where I'm going with this? Of course, you would want to be in your 20s and lock down a girl in her 20s. You were at your lowest, and she was at her highest.
Good point.
It is. Yeah.
I never thought about it that way. Yeah. Nice.
It's unfair to her. It's unfair to her. And if she chooses a guy in her 20s and he appears to be ambitious, I mean, let's be honest. Anyone who's in their 30s or higher, we know how life will just kick you in the balls constantly. When you're in your 20s, you're naive to life. So all this ambition that this man in his 20s has, okay, cool, but you've never stepped in the arena of life to see how brutal it is. And so if that guy doesn't make it to that position that you saw him do, then what he's done is he's wasted 10 years of your youth and your fitness, and now you're in your 30s and you wasted 10 years with a guy who never made something of himself. It's a bad deal for a woman to do that.
Damn. That was, I mean, honestly, I'm not even, you know, not because we're on the show, that was like, just kind of hit me like, I don't want you to be right, but you're right. I mean, if we honestly care about the girls, that is their highest time to, you know, and then getting a hold of some pimply faced dude at 22. I don't think I have still pimples then. But you know, at his lowest, he's working 3 jobs trying to make ends meet, whatever. That's the worst time. Yeah, that'd be the dumbest thing for her to do. But that's where I guess that nuclear family, because at that point, the sexual marketplace, the life, and all that stuff is very unbalanced for her at the very beginning. But as time goes on, and that either equals out, and then as time goes on further, it switches because she gets, you know, a few more wrinkles and stuff like that. And, you know, I say that, you know, tongue in cheek, but he's worth, you know, he's making money. He's, you know, got the yacht and all that stuff. And he stays with her. And because they've made that huge lifelong bond and all those years, kids and all those things. And then they carry it out to their, to their dying day. I'm trying to figure out a nice way of saying that. And that's the way it should work. But it sounds like, you know, with the feminist revolution and all the change in morals and all that stuff, that just turned all this the way it's supposed to work on its head.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Wow. You girls really screwed yourselves.
They did. They did. And listen, don't be sending me hate mail, fans. No. Don't be, because I'm just a mirror. I'm just reflecting what the world looks like. I'm not changing the game or saying that I agree or disagree with any of the stuff. I actually tend to agree more with Dwayne. I think that we were at our happiest back in the 40s and 50s when we got married when we were 21, 22 years old. And I mean, look at our grandparents. I mean, a lot of them are still married 50 years now. I mean, how can you argue that didn't work very well when hell, nowadays you ask someone how long you've been married and you say 5 years and they're like, oh my God, that's so long. I mean, seriously? Yeah. You know, it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's the world we live in. So I'm just here to help people navigate this world, and I'm not here necessarily to change it. I'm just here to attract awareness that some of the things that we think is working is not. And if we don't change how we see each other and how we love on each other and how we act with each other, I don't see the future being all that great and bright.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So when they get to the 40s and 50s, how does that look now?
For women or men?
Well, I guess for men, I think because we were talking about, I think we're talking about the ladies before. I know we went all over the place, but guys dating in their 30s and 40s, and then dating the 20, 30, 40-year-olds. What does that look like? What are you seeing out there?
I tell you this: if the reason, whenever I do my masculinity coaching and men's coaching, I always talk about being on your purpose and not focusing on women, but focusing on your career and your social network and things like that. Because women are attracted to successful men, and it doesn't really matter too much about your age, by and large. I mean, it does to some point, but I mean, a man could have babies when he's 70, but a woman could not. So, it's more important to make sure that you have something to offer a woman than it is to be very, very young and have youth and fitness and things like that. So I will tell you this: I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, and I can't beat these girls off with a stick. And I say this with all humbleness, but I've got no short supply. But I also, you sit in my space for a few minutes, and you understand that you've got yourself a guy who's a little bit different than the rest of the guys, because I maintain my frame, I maintain purpose, and I've got stuff going on right now. Like, the women who sit with me know that I'm not blowing their phones up every damn day. You may not get a text message from me for a couple days. I'm just too damn busy for that stuff. Right. And they actually like that. So there are definitely tips that I give men when coaching men on how to navigate this dating market.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what is that number one question that you get, or that as a result of coaching people that you go, okay, you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to give you the answer, because good God, I mean, what's that question? What's that number one kernel of truth that is going to advance people?
Well, the number one question is how can I be more like Eric Carroll? Because I just saw him pop back into the screen. That's the number one question I get asked. But
once you go 10, there's no other man, Jimmy. That is a lie. I was cheated on numerous times. Go ahead.
True. Yeah.
So whenever I'm coaching men, the clear head and shoulders question that I get asked more than any other question is, how do I get girls? That's the number one question.
Wow.
How do I get girls? And in today's world, there are so many men who are having an awful time attracting girls. And then on the flip side, guys, there are a bunch of men who are attracting women effortlessly. So you have this huge disparity on that. Whenever I date, I notice a common trend of behavior from women in their 20s compared to women in their 30s and women in their 40s. Well, the same thing happens to men, right? I mean, the knowledge that they have attracting women in their 20s is completely different than the knowledge they have when they're attracting women in their 30s and 40s. Mm-hmm. And by this, this in large is due to their upbringing. The reason why people are acting this way is due to their upbringing. And that's what we were alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
Most men are doing all they know how to find the best quality woman they can attract, and the problem is their know-how. It will greatly reduce the chances of landing a woman, and it'll take years of trial and error to develop the skills they need to land what they want if they don't have this know-how. This is no different than life. If you didn't have a good mentor growing up, then you'll struggle navigating life. You'll eventually get it if you want it bad enough, but it'll take you decades to really try to figure it all out. Then I've got, this group of men that can never get laid, and they are bitter. These guys always say shit like,
guys?
What's that?
They're the married guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. Sorry.
Correct. Yes. But I get these guys out there that I do coaching with, and they couldn't get wet if they fell off of a boat into some water. I mean, they are just having a tough time, and they're just bitter. And what I hear from these guys are like, screw women, they're trash, they're not worth the time, they only want your money. These guys would rather just give up altogether than admit they suck at dating and do what it takes to improve. Yeah. So that's what I get frustrated with, and they will actually try to convince me and others that they don't get laid on purpose. It's like, you kidding me? Like, no. You're just an incel, and you need the man to F up and stop being such a little B. That's what you need to start doing, okay? You know who they sound like, guys? They sound like women who say shit like, I'm by myself on purpose. I'm fine being alone. You know, I don't want to be my favorite, I don't want to be in a relationship with a man. You know, look, none of that's true. None of it, okay? It's in a woman's nature to partner with a man. They are at peace and they feel safe when they have a partner.
Yeah.
Women are not built to navigate this world alone, and the truth is they don't want to. Same for men. Same for men. Men want sex. We want it like we want air and we want water. Yes. Yep. You guys know what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. The pyramid.
No. The pyramid, right? And the lower to the bottom is the basic survival needs of a human being, right?
Sex.
You're correct. That's correct.
Oh, I was joking. Okay.
No, you're correct, Dwayne.
All right.
If you guys are not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Google it after the podcast is done. And when you look at the very bottom tier, sex falls under that basic needs of breathing, food, water, and sleep. It literally does. So men want sex as desperate or needed as they want sleep and food and water. So please just miss me on all that bullshit about how you choose to not have sex. Just completely miss me on that stuff. Grab not that one. Grab another one for me if you can.
All right, let's see. I'll pop that.
Jimmy, in the meantime, while he's getting that, I got you a question here from Deborah Bedoya. She said, I have a 34-year-old son, and he is feeling under pressure to have a house, the wife he wants to have, and more children. I have told him to focus on his life and getting himself together, then maybe start to date with a focus of meeting wife material. What would your advice be to a 34-year-old man? That's
the same advice I would give to a 22-year-old man. Stop messing around. And that was great advice, ma'am. I think that's a great advice. And basically what you're telling him is to put your head down, focus on your purpose, your career, making money. And then when you're in a position that you can afford a wife, then start looking for a wife. Because if your son tries to find a wife right now, he can find one, but he's not going to find a high quality one. He's not going to find the best. The best he's going to be able to do is find a woman that will be okay with an average guy making average money that can barely afford a family. And that's not going to be a very high value type of woman. If your son wants or is okay with an average or below average woman, then rock and roll. Have him go out there and start looking. But the first thing I would ask him is tell me what does that look like? What does your wife look like? What characteristics and traits? What does her beauty look like? What does her fitness look like? What is her femininity? How caring and compassionate is she? And if he just comes out and says, Mom, look, I don't really care about looks all that much, and I don't care if she's 200 plus pounds or whatever. I'm okay with whatever. I just want a woman to love me. Well, then you know what? Then maybe then his money won't matter all that much, and let him go on out there and find himself someone now. But if he starts saying things like, I want a beauty, I want a dime, I want a woman, who is, a fit and feminine and cooperative and all these things, submissive perhaps, those women have options. Those women who are 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, they've got a lot of options. And you know how we talk about, like, why would I date an older woman when I could date a young woman? The same thing gets flipped around for women too. Why would she date a guy who's 32 years old that is barely being able to pay the bills on his own when he could date a 32-year-old man who makes $100,000 a year? Because if she's a high value type of woman, then she has the pick of all these different kinds of men. It works against us the way that it works for us. So yes, I think your advice is, Deborah says right there, he has unrealistic expectations and high expectations. Then he's going to be alone. He's going to be alone.
Clarity.
I would ask him to maybe listen to this podcast when it's done. And he has to understand, and I see this a lot, by the way, too. This is not uncommon. These guys out there are also delusional. They watch too much porn. They watch. They're on Instagram too much, looking at all these IG baddies, and they actually think that they're going to be able to land one of these hot chicks. And women are hypergamous. He needs to know what hypergamy means, because trust me, even if he could land a good chick, that guy would likely be so insecure and probably keep her at the house constantly because he knows that guys out there who are doing a little bit better for themselves can snatch his woman up, and he's going to be super needy, super controlling, super possessive, and it's just going to push her away, and he's going to end in divorce in 5 years anyhow.
Yeah, he needs to work.
Good stuff, man.
Did you find that pyramid?
The self-actualization one.
Yeah, I can't see the bottom. Can you see what that says on the bottom?
Yeah, psychological needs: air, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep.
Okay, so sex wasn't even on that one, huh? Because it was on the one. It was on the one that I saw when I pulled it up.
I mean, it's sleep. That's where you have sex sometimes. Sleep. Air, food, water. I mean, that you just assume sex is built in there. That's.
Actualization. All right, can you explain what Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like how that was created, the history behind it? Do you know it?
Yeah, I know a little bit of it. Basically, it's just the human needs that people have, and once you continue to increase yourself and your personal infrastructure and your social, economic, and all these positions you have in life, you start to move up this pyramid. An example would be that the things that we worry about in a first world country in America look completely different than those that people are worried about in Africa. In Africa, they're on that red pill spectrum. They're not worried about what someone said about them on Facebook. They're worried about where the next food and meal is going to come from, because they're lower on that socioeconomic ladder. But when we get into more first world countries, we're up there where the self-esteem needs are, where the confidence and all that other stuff, and we're over here worrying about what someone freaking said to us on Instagram and trash talking us, and it's just really embarrassing because there's people out there who haven't eaten something in a day and a half, and here we are with our first world problems. So it's a good little pyramid to look at. It's kind of eye-opening. There's a book that comes along with it. I think it's a good read for those who want to kind of level themselves up. So definitely put that on a must read. But going back to the dating and helping men with trying to attract women and things like that. The reason why these men and women struggle is because they really want what the other controls, and they don't know how to get it from them. Women control access to sex, not men, right? We talked about that. Men control access to relationships, not women. And we want what the other has, and we get frustrated and give up when we can't get it. Then we make excuses and we justify why we can't get it by blaming the opposite sex for their shortcomings instead of taking accountability for ourselves. Yeah. So women who say there aren't any good men out there, that's what I'm talking about. Men who say women are trash and they only want one thing, and that's money, that's what I'm talking about. What men and women need to do is start to take accountability for yourself and learn from channels like this, people who are successful with dating and truly know where you stand and what your sexual marketplace value can attract out there, so that way you don't try and shoot too high or too low and become better. That one mother was talking about her 32-year-old son is a good example of that. He seemingly, from what I understand of him so far, doesn't understand what his current sexual marketplace value yields. Yeah. And Dwayne likes to use the car analogy, so let's use the car analogy. So if this guy, the son that's 32, has $10,000 to his name, he's mad that no one's selling him a Ferrari for $10,000 when all he can afford is a 2012 Honda Civic that has 150,000 miles on it. So if you want a Ferrari, how do you get a Ferrari? Well, get out there and save more money, build yourself up, because you're not going to attract the kind of car, in this analogy, that you want if you don't have the value needed to make that purchase. So it really holds that true, guys. So there are definitely things that I can teach people, Dwayne, that can help them improve like their position when it comes to getting more girls and things like that. So that's kind of what I work with men on.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question there, Jimmy. Like, dating after divorce seems to be one of those things where these guys are like, I don't know if I want to go get back in that again. What are some of the things that they really need to be mindful of before they go jumping back into the dating field?
Well, the first question I always ask when people ask me for advice, and this should be how you deal with your spouses, your kids, whatever. When someone wants your advice and they want you to solve a problem for them, the first question you should always ask is, what do you want? What do you want out of this? Start with the end in mind. Okay. So if a man has gotten so let's go on that path. If a man has gotten a divorce and he's out there on the dating market for the first time in 15 years, he's lost his kids, he's lost half his 401k, he's lost his house, he's lost his manhood, his dignity. I mean, he's at the bottom, and this channel was created to help men just like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you find yourself in that position and you are out there in the dating market, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what do I want now? Do you want to be married again? If you do, then we're going to have to move differently than if you do not want to be married. Then you'll move a little differently there. Okay. So ask what it is that you want. If you want to be married again, okay, do you want to have kids or more kids? If the answer is no, I don't want more kids, then ask yourself again, then why would I get married? It doesn't mean that you don't get married. Right. Just ask yourself that then. Why would I risk splitting what I left with from my last marriage in half again if this new one doesn't work out? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Yeah. If it is, cool. If it's not, then don't put it on government paper. Oof. Okay. And if you do put it on government paper because you want to be married and you want to make that commitment to her, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but can I make a suggestion? How about a prenup?
Ooh,
how about that?
I got.
Yeah. Okay.
Prenup, postnup. Yep.
And don't get one off of that one website you pay $30 a month for, whatever that website is. Go and have one drafted up by a lawyer. Okay. And I know that some guys are going to say, well, even the best prenups are not solid and things like that. Okay, cool. I get it. All right. I'm not here to talk about 100% of the cases. I'm here to talk about the majority of the cases. Right. You know, life is screwy. There's no guarantees of anything. I mean, if you're going to be out there and you're going to date men, or women date men and men date women, you're going to have to take a risk. I mean, this life is all about trade-offs and compromises. So we're going to have to take a risk.
Well, you know, and I agree with you, man. I believe in marriage 100%. But can I ask you guys something? Because I think we all struggle with this. What benefits is there for a man, as it stands now, to make that commitment on that government piece of paper? Where's my? I needed the Jeopardy theme. I mean, serious. I mean, and that's the part that we've got to it. And if the government could understand that, it's like you got all these incentives for these families to break up, but where are the ones for them to get together and stay together? Because I don't see it. What, taxes? Crap, you guys suck enough with our tax money already. You need to leave that one alone. But where are the incentives for these guys to want to be in that long-term committed relationship? The other side, I would say, of that, a lot of these guys, you was talking about 15 years, now they're back in the dating field. Should these guys be dating like they're getting in a relationship to fulfill that need for sex? Do you think that's a smart idea?
I think if that's what they want, then, you know, go
should
right
they be
ahead
upfront with it. Like, I'm not doing this for a serious relationship. Like, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. You know, if that's what they want, then that's what I teach them how to get. You know, if they want, you know, a long-term relationship, then I'll teach them how to get that too. But I don't necessarily think you need to put it on government paper. There's just, you know, to Eric's point, you know, there's really not a whole lot of benefit to do so. The biggest reason why guys will get married is because they want to start a family and they want to protect that family and they want to be able to make choices. If bad things happen, they want their kids to go to the right person. If bad things happen, you know, if you're walking down the street and you roll over the hood of someone's car and you're no longer here, you know, you want those government choices to fall right into the woman that you chose and vice versa. But if you're not looking to have kids, there's not a lot of reasons to really get married again. You can live with a woman and you can cohabitate and be just fine with that. I don't know the laws for every one of our states, but there are some laws where if you live with someone for too long, it's what is it called? A common marriage.
Common law marriage, yeah.
Common law marriage. Yeah, so you're going to want to be careful with that. Look, it's everyone's responsibility, depending on what state they live in, to come up with this. I mean, it's not my job to figure this out for you guys, but you guys need to take the initiative of figuring out what that looks like in your state and navigate around that. But guys, protect yourselves. And we talked about this a couple times. I can't remember if we talked about it on or off air, but I saw a stat that said by the year 2030, over 50% of all women will be single.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What?
Okay. And the reason why is because, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I don't know it to be true, but this is what I hear from my own anecdotal experience and talking to men, is men are just seeing a marriage as a bad deal. And the way that the family court systems are set up right now is set up greatly in favor for a woman and not in favor for a man. And when you look at when people split up in marriages, who oftentimes comes out financially better, the man or the woman?
Woman gets cash and prizes. There's no benefit. The data's already out there. The predictive model is showing it, and we see it in the MGTOW world and all these other areas. There's no point in men, at least, getting married because the marriage. And I try to explain this to people. If you look at a marriage contract, the word love and all these other things, none of that appears in that contract. It is a legal contract to convey rights and titles. That's all that is. It's a license. And I can talk about the history of marriage, but that's, that would bore everybody and all that. But there is no reason. But it's funny, though, because women, they still, even though they're strong and independent and all that stuff, they all want that fairy tale. I want the marriage. I want the wear the white dress down the aisle. Sorry, I had to laugh at that one for reasons.
You don't like white dresses, Dwayne?
I just find it funny because white dresses are for purity, and
how dare you say that they are not pure?
They've been plowed, but not pure. But I mean, I don't know what, like, they're I'm strong, independent, and I don't get that duality, but they're strong and independent, and they hear me roar, and men are stupid, blah, blah, blah. But I want to get married and have the fairy tale wedding and walk down the aisle, and then day two they want to ruin your life. But it's just, why do they do that? I don't want to detract from what we're talking about. It's always bugged me, because as a guy, I'm like, I look at a marriage contract as a business contract. Why would any man be dumb enough to put it out there to sign a contract like that?
And name me one contract between companies or entities or people that's ever been put together that actually incentivizes one of the two parties to leave.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That's a whole other area with the marriage contract stuff. And it can be broken. Again, we have no fault divorce. It's one where any party can break it for no reason whatsoever. Normal contracts don't have that in there. And then they're rewarded with cash and prizes for doing so. No other area of law does this. Yeah. But our courts of equity allow, and actually, I'm sure you've heard the rumblings. We're going to have retroactive child support coming down the pipe here real closely. It's going to get even worse for men. It's a hot topic right now. It needs to be hotter. People need to be freaked out and ticked off about it. But they're going to have retroactive child support where they can name any man they want to, no DNA test needed, and you're on the hook. I mean, they're going after it. But women are ruining it for themselves. I'm telling you right now, women. I don't mean any disrespect, but women, generally speaking, are not very far thinking. They're very short minded. Men are a little more forward thinking than women are. Women are. They make decisions based on how they feel about it right now, and men generally make decisions based on how the outcome will be down the road. And I tell you, the way that women are kind of moving in this world that we live in right now, they're just going to basically put us in a situation where men are going to be, by and large, not choosing marriage anymore. And I really feel bad because when it comes to kids and stuff, was it Taiwan? Was it? There's an Asian company that has finally designed. I probably should have this article up. I just thought about just now. They've
designed a womb where artificially they don't need a woman's body to create life now. It's kind of scary, like one of those crazy like movies where they
Terminator
or Matrix or something, right? But
the Matrix,
but think about this though. Okay, think about this.
Oh yeah.
It could be, and I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but if you've got all these futuristic, realistic sex dolls and robots out there, and we don't need women to give birth to our children, because a woman's orgasm is not needed for birth. Only our orgasm matters, not theirs. We give life. They harbor it. A woman's orgasm is irrelevant to life as it stands. So if we harbor the seed that creates life, and artificial intelligence can take that seed and develop it, can you see where this might go for women down the road?
Yeah,
it's not, I mean, if we get to all that's left, guys, is that all we got to do is just, and I'm not saying I want to do this, I'm just saying all that's left is one law change away from making prostitution legal again, and relationships are going to be out the window.
Yeah.
And you can't blame the guys. We're not saying that we agree with that.
Right.
But the way they've let this just get completely out of hand, again, I understand why men are going their own way. And
we talked about this yesterday. Yeah,
dude. I mean, it's crazy out there.
What advice can we offer, guys?
I do not agree with it. I agree. I'm with Eric. I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm not saying that's what men want. I'm saying that I can foresee that happening. Men want relationships, but if you make it a bad deal for a man, men are cost benefit calculators. If I give this, what do I get in return?
Right.
And if a man can spend $200 at the brothel, he can have his own baby via artificial intelligence, then why would he get into a relationship with an overly emotional, woman that could leave him and split half of his assets? Men are going to say no thanks, and that's what's scary.
You pointed out, it's a cost-benefit analysis. I mean, and we got to say, I mean, women do the same thing. It's like, hey, they go the other way. Hey, this guy just got out of jail for this, and this. I'm going to hook up with him and have a special life with him. That's a bad cost-benefit analysis. But yeah, guys, largely, we think mathematically. We go, okay, if I do this, I have a 70% chance that I'm going to lose everything I've ever had, my kids and all that stuff. Why would I do that? I equate it to putting into a pew, a 6-round chamber, and 5 of the bullets are in there, and you spin the wheel. That's the same probabilities. Getting right down to it, why would men play Russian roulette with the environment that we're in? On a whim, she can wake up one day and take everything away and get rewarded for doing it. I mean, every day she wakes up, she's like, and then they're not dumb. They know this. They go, I don't like having him around, or he makes me mad, or he's not doing enough for me. I can go over here with Chad, but I can hang with him, and I can get the house and the retirement and all that stuff, and I can ruin his life, which is a bonus. Sounds good to me. What guy wants to wake up every day with that ticking time bomb? Because we're not dumb. I think about that. I think about it a lot, and I'm happily married. I'm always like this. Any day it could happen.
Right.
It's hard to live that way. And going and doing artificial insemination over in Taiwan, I'm checking airline prices right now. You can get have someone artificially inseminated and have your own child. I can see that as in the cost benefit analysis, that may be the way to go.
I know, and it's just sad. If there's any women listening to this and hearing us and a little bit upset about, well, that's not true. Women don't always leave relationships and things like that. This is what I would say to the women who are giving them some pushback. Think about your last 5 relationships. Can you see those men? Think about their names. Now ask yourself, who left who? Your last 5 relationships, ladies, did you leave them or did they leave you? And most of you are going to say, well, I left the relationship, because men don't leave relationships, generally speaking.
Right.
When it comes to divorces, women file between 70 and 80% of all the divorces. Men are constantly, to John's point, walking on eggshells, wondering if one day her unhappiness is going to overshadow her duty to the marriage, and she's going to just peace out. Right. So and it's sad because women, that's why whenever I deal with a woman, I'm very, very cautious and selective on who she hangs out with, because the people that you surround yourself in your inner circle are a reflection of who you are. We've all heard those sayings where if you want to be a millionaire, you hang around millionaires and you'll become one. Right. If you want to be a drug user, hang around drug users, eventually you'll become one. Right. Well, guys, I will give you this advice, okay? And I really want you to take heed to it. Find out who your women are talking to. Mm-hmm. And if your woman is in a relationship with you and you guys are in a monogamous relationship, cut off all her single friends. Do it. It's gonna piss her off. I don't care. Because single women keep women single. Trust me when I say that single friend of hers does not want to be single. She wants to be in a relationship that your girl's in with a guy
with you.
And might even be with you. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And what do you think that single woman is telling your girlfriend every time your girlfriend sounds off on her on every argument that you guys have? What do you think she's saying? Is it more likely that she's saying, hey, hang in there, I can see his side of the story, well, maybe he's feeling that way? Or is it more likely that she's telling your girlfriend, girl, you do not need to deal with that crap. There are plenty of people out there. You deserve way more. Which one, guys? Which one do you think that's more likely happening? We all know what the effing answer is to that one, right?
Yeah, they're going, you can do better, he's a no good, whatever. Hey, guess what? If you do this, all you gotta do is say that you were abused, and you'll get the house, the car, the kids, all of his money, put him in jail because he's a jerk. You can do all these things. So that's what they're telling them.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, man. Yeah. So the girls that I date, and I don't do this right in the beginning, you're going to have to give it a month and a half or 2 months after dating her. But, after you see something in her and you want to take this thing potentially to the next level, you're going to have to make sure that if you're going to lead as a man in your relationship, that you have to make decisions that's for the betterment of the relationship. And that oftentimes goes against what feels good at the time. Hell, you guys do it raising your kids. You don't, has there ever been a time where you spanked your kids and you enjoyed it? Of course not. You hated doing that. But you knew that the discipline that you're going to instill in your little girl and your little boy will serve dividends when they grow up.
Yeah.
So sometimes the right thing and sometimes the hardest thing are sometimes the same thing.
Right.
So you're going to have to take a look at what her single friends are doing. And you don't want her hanging out at the freaking clubs with single friends, getting out there, putting on her boots up to her knees and looking like a little piece of work. Yeah. Going out there. If you've got yourself a woman who is clearly trying to attract the non-sexual attention or sexual attention of other men, you don't got yourself a good woman, man. Okay. Yeah. I encourage, let me be clear. I encourage my women, the women that I deal with, I encourage her to go out with her girlfriends. I do. I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy for men to hang out with men and women to hang out with women. But I want to be cautious on the kind of women she hangs out with.
Yeah. So I'm
curious to see how many times, if any, that Mr. Smith has been married. Deborah, please call me Jimmy. You're welcome to call me Jimmy. I have been married. I was married once, and I was married for 13 years, and I was with her for 15 years. I absolutely loved being married, and I wish I was still married. But there was a couple things that transpired in the marriage that are needed, I guess, for lack of better words. The short version is this: I got married because I wanted to start a family. Go figure. And a couple years into my marriage, she made the executive decision that she no longer wanted to have kids. So she put one of those what was it called? IFDs or IUDs or the thing. What is it called?
Boom.
Yeah.
IVF or
IVF. Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Not the IUD. That explodes, right? That's a war. But yeah, one of those more permanent birth control type of situations. I'm sorry, I don't know about the woman stuff as much.
Without your knowledge, did it without your knowledge?
She did it with my knowledge, just without my permission.
And that, well, again, you guys had agreed before you got married, I want children, I want a family. And then after you got married, she said, I changed my mind.
Correct. Correct. And remember, I oftentimes teach people women control access to two things. They control access to sex and whether or not a child gets brought into this world. Men control access to relationships. So she controls whether or not I have children or if I don't have children. I can't force her to not have that, and I can't force her to have it should I want her to. But here I am, you know, in my 30s wanting to be a father and wanting to have kids, and now I'm faced with the harsh reality of knowing that I'll never have kids as long as I remain married to this woman, and it broke my heart. You know, there was a couple other things like lack of intimacy and lack of affection that played a role into it. You know, I could have almost been okay with not becoming a father, but I can't be okay not ever having intimacy and not being a father. So, you know, there's a couple things that played into that, and I probably stayed in that marriage 7 years more than I probably should have. Some of the guys who are listening to this right now, who I'm friends with, know that story very well, and they've oftentimes coached me to, get out while I'm still young and find a woman who wants to have kids. But I stayed in that marriage, you know, for about 13 years, and now I'm not in that marriage basically because of that. So
when you say men don't leave, you got some skin in that game. You got a little more than, you know, statistics and anecdotal. You did it. I mean, you went through the headspace, that relationship. You're like, man, maybe I can make this work. Maybe I need to be okay with, you know, I wonder, did she really want to have kids before you guys got married?
The short answer is yes. I mean,
okay.
You truly don't know what is in someone's heart, you know, because all you know is what they tell you. But, you know, I think that it's extremely important for men before they get into a long-term marriage, a long-term relationship, especially marriage. You must talk about finances, debt, feelings, family, health, careers, goals, past medical histories, everything. You have to. And of course, me being the communicator that I am, I absolutely talked about those things, and I would have never married her if she had said right from the rip, Jimmy, I love you, I'll marry you, but I'm not ever going to give you babies. Then I would have said, I respect that, and I really do appreciate your honesty, but you know, I want to have children. So I would have never got into that marriage. Right. Or how about this one? If I said, hey, I love her so much that I'm okay not having kids, well, then at least it would have been my choice.
Right. Yeah. That choice was removed from you unilaterally, and after you were told before you signed the contract that that was the way it was supposed to work. Man, and that's another scary reason not to get married ever, because you go into the relationship and you have those conversations. I mean, I've had those conversations with each of the three women I've married, and so far two of them went into it saying yeah, and then right afterwards, nope, I'm going to change the rules, I'm going to do all this stuff. And that's just another reason for men never to get married, because one, they can tell you whatever, and you seem like you got the BS detector on. I'm sure it sounds like you believed her from the get-go, and rightly so, because you were having that conversation. She changes the script. I know you probably don't want to get into the specifics on your divorce, but in my divorce, they got cash and prizes for I would argue lying to me, but I won't be that mean at this point. But it just makes no sense for men to get married, because a woman can change her mind and get cash and prizes on the way out, and get congratulated and everything else. I mean, it's ridiculous. I wrote my ex a huge check and split every dollar I contributed to my 401k since I was 18 years old. That woman never contributed $1 to my 401k, and I've been saving up for it for my entire life. Wow. And I had to give her half of everything that I owned, and that woman did not even give me kids.
Was she appreciative of it, Jimmy?
Of my money? Yeah, probably. Probably. I will tell you this. You know, I don't want to paint her as a bad person. I love her. She's a great person. But, you know, she went to Italy 2 weeks after we got divorced. And she got the house that I had to give up that I bought for her painted, and you know, $5,000 worth of landscaping done in the house that I gave up to her. You know, my house and my dogs that I gave up in the house I had on a lake that, you know, that I put my blood, sweat, and tears in, and all that stuff. So
you're just being petty, Jimmy. You're being so petty,
brother. She's got needs. You're just being immature.
Oh,
who hurts you? Who hurt you?
Don't like men. You don't like women. You're a woman hater. Oh my God.
Yeah, you know me. I'm just a jerk.
God. See, this is what I'm talking about. God
forbid I'm bitter that I spent 25, 30 years building myself into something, and then with one swoop of the sword, I got to scratch a check in half to a woman that probably should have just remained my girlfriend. God forbid.
Oh, see, again, ladies that are out there, guy, whatever. This is why we don't want to get married. I mean, I think I can say this, that, you know, she changed the contract. Either she knew it, she didn't know, whatever. She changed the contract and got cash and prizes on the way out.
It's not that men aren't wanting to get married. It's just it has no benefits for them anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure she tells everybody, oh, he's a piece of whatever, and I didn't get nothing. I'm strong, independent, and hey, I don't know a good Italian name. Hey there, let's go get some pasta. I don't know. I can't think of anything better for the.
And you know what? Honestly, the only thing that really helps me sleep at night and not want to just put my hand through the wall.
Yeah, please tell me.
Is that I honestly think about the people that listen to your guys' show that have had it way worse than me. I swear to God, the guys who are listening to this show that lost their kids, their wife, their careers, their money. I lost my house, my dogs, and my money, but I didn't lose any kids, right? So there's guys. What the dogs?
You gave that woman your dogs? Oh hell! Let you and me. Let's go. Let's hunt them down. No, we can't have the dogs go.
I know. and they were my kids. I freaking miss my dogs so much. But you know, the only thing that helps me kind of sleep at night is knowing that despite all the things I gave up, some of you guys have given up so much more than I ever did. You know, I've never had kids, so I don't know how it feels. I can only imagine. I could not imagine having to give up my kids as well, because it hurts so bad giving up my dogs. And I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that there's probably some transferable pain that goes there. So, you know, I just kind of say, look, you know, this is absolutely horrible, but I have it better than other men have it. So I'll just do what I can to keep on kicking down the road, I guess.
So what do they tell you when they go, well, it's not all women?
Then here's what I say. I say, you're right. It's not all women. It's a small percentage of women that are good, but the exception doesn't overtake the rule.
Okay.
That's what I say.
I didn't know which way you were going with that. The small number, I would argue it's, you know, this, again, 70% of all divorces initiated by women, or the cause of them and things like that. And they get the cash and prizes overwhelmingly and all this other stuff. It's, again, Russian roulette with 5 rounds in the chamber and that 6th one empty, and you just spin that thing. You know, why? When I that's one of the things that, you know, we get in the comments and on all the other forums and stuff is, well, it's not all women. And I'm like, how many times do you have to get bit by a cobra or whatever analogy you want to use before you go, whoa, I need to not do this?
One of the most frustrating things, let me be honest, let me share my frustration. One of the most frustrating things that really gets to me when women debate me, and I'm referring to women, is that they say, well, not all people, not all women. You can't speak for all men. You can't speak for all women. It's such a disingenuous argument, because isn't it clear and obvious that it's not all? I mean, let's be honest, guys. I mean, there is no law. There's no rule. There's no stat. There's not anything on this planet to where there was a rule, law, or degree that broad brush covered 100% of the 7 billion people on this planet. Right. The only thing I could ever think about that probably most people would ever agree on would be thou shalt not murder. I think that the one law that you could probably agree on will be that one, right? But you know,
bald guys are well endowed. I don't know about, is that, I don't know, but
So even whenever you look at something like murder, for instance, right?
Right.
I think most everybody would agree that you shouldn't do that, right? But I can make a compelling argument that I could get you to agree to it, and here's how I would do it. Okay. Let's say that someone did something really awful to your children. Because I don't want to get flagged, I won't say what it is, but let's say something very, very awful to your children that led to their, that led to some long-term emotional damage and maybe even deleted their existence on this planet.
There we go.
If that happened to your kids, would you retaliate in deleting that person who did that to your kid? Yeah, you probably would. And although it's against the law to do that, would we sit back and go?
Well, it's happened where those things have happened, and they had there was a famous one in the early '80s where this guy deleted I believe it was this guy's daughter or son, I can't remember, and they were transporting him at the airport. He got caught live on air, and the father popped around and put a round right through him. Yep. I mean, that happens. So I wouldn't call that murder. Murdering, in the definition of murder, is ending the life of an innocent person. That person's obviously not innocent, but I mean, I get the analogy and where you're going, but there are times that ending or deleting makes perfect sense. Yeah, there are times. Definitely.
So the point of me bringing that up is that, there is no, not all people, this and the other, there's just nothing out there you can do that, but whenever the Dwaynes and the Erics and the Jimmys of the world get on these podcasts and we broadcast our message to people, and we're sending that message to their cars and to their phones for them to listen to it. That's what we're doing. We're broadcasting. We are putting something out into the world for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to listen to. I don't have the time to sit down and specifically talk about everyone's specific situation. Right. So for sake of time, I must go off of what works for the masses and not just every individual person. This broadcast is not directed just at your car. It's directed to all the cars in the country or the world that turned us on and listening to us. So you have to understand that, you have to talk in general terms, because my advice and our tips will speak dividends and help people in the masses. And if it doesn't apply, then let it fly, baby. If it don't apply, then let it fly. If it ain't pointed at you, then just zip it and just go on to something else.
The ones that get to me the most is just the ones that show up. This is not my situation. My baby daddy did this, or my baby daddy did that. So all of you other men that are talking, we're my baby daddy, and you're lying.
Yeah.
Right.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah. Women pull that stuff constantly. It's a little frustrating. So
cancel culture.
Yeah, cancel culture. It's all about feelings, and that's what I meant when I talked about how women are generally a little more short-sighted and men are a little more long-sighted. Women will listen to a man talk in generalities, and she still, even though she knows he's talking to the masses, apply it to her personal life.
Yeah.
There you go.
Even after explaining it, she still will go, well, you can't speak for all. It's like, oh my Lord, come on, we are adults here. Okay. If you want to pay me, if you want to pay me for the hour, then I'll talk about individual, and I'll bring out the sniper rifle and shoot one bullet on one person. But for this right here, this is a spray and pray. I'm trying to touch as many people as I can with my message. This is not individualized.
Could you imagine being in a relationship with a person like that? Anytime you tell them something that went on in your day or something, well, that didn't happen in my day, so that's not true.
I know, right?
They just don't deal in reality.
They don't, and that's why I teach men to watch out for these cues of women. Do not deal with an uncooperative woman. Just don't even deal with her, man. I mean, there's too many other women out there that you can deal with that are a little more agreeable and cooperative. And men don't want to have to deal with this. We just want peace. That's all we want.
Yeah,
we don't want to come home and hear your opinions. We don't want to hear your anecdotal experience about how this happened and that happened. We just want peace. So communication is really tough sometimes between men and women because of how different we actually think.
Yeah. Well, we're talking, a lot of good information here. Like, what are 3 tips, 4 tips, whatever, to improve that position for guys and girls? I don't know if I'm sure you probably talk to the guys a bit, but let's talk, to both sides. What are 3 tips that are going to improve your position dating after divorce?
and I'll be happy to give them. I'll let you guys decide, or maybe Eric. You know, if I go into this, it'll probably take another 20 minutes. But you know, I know we're right at 2 hours. Do you want me to go through that, or do you want to do it for next week's content?
You guys are good to go as long as you are. This is a big show, baby. If you can't handle it, get out of our yard.
All right, cool. I just was asking. So whenever I counsel men on you know, how to improve their chances of out there on the dating market, you know, there is a ton of different things that I can do, but there's always 3 really, really important things that if you just did these 3 things, it'll set you aside from the rest. So the first one of the 3 that will greatly improve your position and get more girls is making sure that you have confidence and high energy. Confidence
Absolutely.
and high energy. Okay. Women are attracted to confident men and men that have a positive energy, period. You have to understand that women choose men on how they feel about them. They are in touch with their intuition. Women are very in touch with their feelings, intuition. And when you are talking, they are looking, but they are not looking with their eyes. They're actually looking through you. And instead, they're feeling you with their energy. These women are only looking at you with open eyes just because they're being polite, but they could literally close their eyes and just listen to you talk, and because they're really feeling you more than they're listening to you. Women by nature, as I mentioned, are hypergamous. They want the best quality of man to lead them. So imagine creating a business, right, where you needed to hire a CEO to run your company. You would be extremely selective in choosing that person, because we know that person can make or break your company. Or in her case, it would make or break the family. So she has to make sure that she's selecting the best quality of man if she wants that man to lead. So you have to understand that the way that you come across, your confidence, your energy level, it's not because you're not a good guy and you're not getting these second and third dates. It's probably because you're not qualifying in her eyes to be able to lead her, because you're complaining too much, or you're talking too much, or you're just not making her feel that you're the right guy for the job. Let your confidence and your high energy come through your words. Make her feel your ambition. Women love ambitious men. Show her that you have plans and that you're confident to take life. She wants to know that despite the fact that life is so tough, that you have plans to take what you want from life, period. She wants to feel your ambition. She will go down in status of man if she is able to feel and see how ambitious you are. But let me tell you something. More men have gotten the cut because they are not ambitious than they want to admit. That's why I talk about limit the amount of porn, limit the amount of video games, limit the amount of fantasy football you do, because you know you're not showing a lot of ambition if you spend too much of that time on those areas. You know, show your strength, show your power, but also let her see that you can be gentle as well too. You know, go with the approach of strength and power when battling life, but be gentle when dealing with her and loved ones. Women love masculine, alpha type of men, but she understands she wants you to be a dangerous man to life, but she wants you to be a loving man to her and the family. So, you know, Clover says right there, yes, we love ambitious men. Guys, you have to understand, you're not going to land a woman like Clover if you're not an ambitious type of man. You have to have purpose. You have to be on your purpose. Don't complain about life. Stay positive. Be on your grind and talk about what you do to self-improve.
Well,
one of the things that I do, guys, I'm sorry.
Why do they want to change it? So like you're grinding, you side hustle, all that stuff, and then you get with the girl and like, I don't want you working all the time. I want you to, why don't you take me out on dates, and why don't we go do this? And you're like, baby, the house got here, and the cars and the trips and the body got from me being disciplined and doing my mug, my cake mug or whatever, and working all my extra jobs and drinking my water and all that. But they want to change that as soon as you get into a relationship or you start dating them. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The things that attracted them to you is the things they want to change about you. Weird.
Correct. Because women do not use logic. Men use logic, and it makes perfect sense why you say what you say. But women run their logic through their emotions first. So you have to understand that women have to be led, and you have to be communicated with them. No heat, no judgment. But let me just be honest with women, okay? When fathers and brothers vetted your boyfriends, you had longer term relationships than when we've allowed you to vet your own guys. Look how bad a lot of you guys are at vetting your men, because of an example Dwayne just said. So I've been in that situation, and where I've been on my purpose. She's chose me because I was successful in all my purpose, and she then will complain about me not texting her back frequent enough, or not spending enough time with her. So in short, I don't want to take all day, but in short, you basically give her choices. Okay, I don't recommend giving her ultimatums. I recommend giving her choices. That way, if you give her an ultimatum, she's sour, and it says oppression. If you give her choices, then she's the one that chose, and she has to take accountability for it. So you tell her this: look, I would love to be both of everything, but until I win the lottery or sell a business for millions, I'm going to have to get out there, and I'm going to have to provide and protect. You can have one of two choices, and I'll do whatever it is you want me to do, babe. Choice one: I can be on my purpose, and I can level myself up and have ambition, but you get little of my time. Or I can take my foot off the gas, not be on my purpose, don't focus on my career, and you can have all of my time. Which one would you like?
Jimmy, let me ask you a question about that too, because you're talking about dating after divorce and everything. Women want that man that's confident in everything. A lot of these guys, I think this is why it's important not to jump straight into another relationship after you've been in a bad one, because you'll meet somebody and you'll start telling them, oh, this is what I went through. And you start telling them all this about this failed relationship you've got, but that will attract a certain woman, the one that thinks she needs somebody to fix. And I don't know that that's necessarily the person. Once you get to know them and you build a house with them, they're constantly wanting to fix you. And the second that they feel like they got you fixed, they need another project.
Correct.
Right. And I think some of these guys just hook up with these women thinking, I need to just tell them everything that went wrong in my last relationship. That's not the type of confidence that we're talking about here.
Nope, not at all. Well said. Guys, if you're looking for a woman to fix you, you're going to end in a whole lot of continuous broken hearts. Women will take on a build-a-boo. They will at times, right? But it never ends long-term success. It just doesn't. Women generally are hypergamous, and yes, you'll get a few people from here or there that will want to fix you. But to Eric's point, as soon as she fixes you, she's going to want to fix something else.
They need a project.
Yeah. So number two. So my first tip for those who are writing it down is to make sure you have confidence and high energy. The second, number two, is be charismatic. This is one of my favorite attributes about myself, is my charisma. Charisma drives women wild, and it makes them obsessed, period. We all know that one guy at work or the one guy in our friends group that just commands a room when he walks in. He has a swag about him. He has an easier time convincing others of his ideas. He's just a natural leader and a natural slayer of women. You've got to be charismatic, okay? I hear men tell me that charisma is something that you're born with, but it's not, okay? There are some people that are born more charismatic than others, but charisma is something that can absolutely be enhanced and built upon. We already talked about, in the past, being on your purpose with your money, your career, your exercise, your self-improvement. And even today, we talked about having confidence and high energy. Those all improve your charisma, by the way. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you are a guy who is on his purpose, if you're in the gym and you're building your physique, you feel better about yourself. You have a swag about yourself. Listen, I say this with all humbleness. Okay. I'm only saying it for illustration purposes, not for egotistical purposes. I've built myself into the kind of man that when I walk into a room, I am dressed good and I look good. I make sure my shoulders are wide and my waist is small. And when I walk into a room, people take notice. And the women that I'm walking into a room with that are on my arm, she loves the attention that I get, because when everyone looks at me, they turn right and look at who I chose. So then all eyes are on her. A woman, the kind of woman that is able to be with that kind of man, it just makes her feel that so much better that she was able to land a high confidence, successful type of man. Whenever you're on dates, and look at all Rich talking about making you hey,
look, you get a compliment, Miss Clover. I think she got a crush on you, man.
You know, I want to bring that guy on the show one day. Rich is a perfect example of a guy who's overcome adversity and still was very successful with the ladies. A lot of guys will talk about, oh, Jimmy, you know, you get women because you're so tall. Let me tell you something about Rich. Richie is 5'7" on a good day. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's actually like 5'6.5" or whatever, but he's a couple inches shorter than the national average. But when you meet that guy, you will not know. You don't even know that guy's 5'7". You think he's 6'5", with how confident this guy is. He is the one. Richie is more charismatic than I am, and that's saying a lot. Okay, I've learned so much from that guy right there. I'll tell you stories about him another time, but that's the kind of guy where everyone just wants to be around that guy, and you don't even notice his height after you've felt his confidence and his charisma. Whenever guys like Richie or myself or other guys who are confident charisma are on dates, one of the tips that they'll give you is that make sure that you listen more than you talk. Ask her questions. Yeah. Maintain your eye contact. Smile. Give that little sexy smirk. Be mysterious and nod when she talks. Communication non-verbally means just as much as your verbal communication. Mm-hmm. When I sit there and I'm looking across the room and I've got eye contact locked on with her, I'm communicating with her on a non-verbal type of way, and I want to be that mysterious kind of guy. And when I decide to talk, I choose my words wisely. I don't say too much. I don't over-explain, because women love mystery. Plus, no one wants to sit across from a table and hear someone talk nonstop for 20 minutes about themselves. Okay, women will tell you right there that she didn't call a guy back for a second date because the guy just talked about himself the entire time. And guys who are successful and they made something of themselves oftentimes do that because they're trying to. If they were a peacock, they would have fluffed their feathers out to show all their colors, right? Yeah. So you want to sprinkle in your attributes and your accomplishments, but you don't want to over explain.
Salt Bay.
Yeah, salt it, man. Yeah. I mean, women love mystery, guys. You know, they love mystery. The number one way to destroy mystery is to give out too much information. Make her feel, guys. Make her feel you. Don't make her listen to you. And also, too, another tip I would give you is don't doubt your own abilities. Don't complain about how you having a rough life. Erica was talking about that earlier. Listen, we all had a rough life. We all did. And she doesn't care about what it took for you to get here. She only cares about that you're finally here. Yeah. Okay. So don't get on there and do verbal diarrhea. Yes, Rich, correct. I'm gonna give you my Venmo for you to pay me on those compliments. So make sure that you understand that although you might justifiably have a reason to complain and because you had a rough life, I get that, but people, especially women, they don't care as much about what you had to go through in order to become successful. They just care that you're successful or not. And that's just the unfortunate world that we live in. Guys have to earn their value where women innately kind of are given their value. Final tip, number 3, if you're writing it down, and this is right here, I swear, my goodness, I do not know why we missed this one. And it's a head shaker. And I swear, some of you guys, I'm going to reach to this phone and just choke your neck, man, because I do not know why you missed the ball on this. Oh, my God.
Get him.
Number 3 is look good. Smell good. Okay? Look and smell good. Correct, Brandy. I'm saying to not wear sweatpants.
Oops.
Yeah, Brandy
That's
heard you
correct.
say smell good, and Dwayne's out.
I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
He's
Yeah.
got ideas.
There's a 75% chance Dwayne's not even wearing pants right now. That's why he's never stood up. Okay, do not prove it. We don't want to know, but I'm just saying the odds are not against. They're not for us. No, please don't. Please don't. So, guys, you have to know that first impressions mean something, man. I do not know how many women I've spoken to that complain about what guys are wearing on first dates. Also, if I hear another story about bad breath, I'm going to show up at your house and dump your faces into a sink full of scope, okay, with your damn bad breath. I mean, can you grab some gum? Can you brush your effing teeth before you go, please? For God's sakes, you have to understand that first impressions always matter. The wrinkle in your shirt to the dirt on your shoes will tell her a lot about you. It may not even be true. You might be a clean guy, but if you have dirt all over your shoes, you're going to portray that you're not a clean guy, even though you could very well be.
Right.
You will still be judged for it, is my point. Okay. Yeah. Think about this. The guys who are listening to this, think about the times that you were a hiring manager and you interviewed people. Okay. You've got this huge stack of resumes to look through, and you only have one position to fill. Any typo on that resume, and you'd have disqualified them.
Yep.
And you moved on to the next one.
Yep.
Now think about the 6 face-to-face interviews you had for that one position. You picked them apart, didn't you? All those 6 interviews, you picked them apart because you can only choose one. So you have to be able to try the best you can to separate the 6 from that one diamond in the rough. Guys, that's what she's doing with you. We already know that she's got a whole inbox full of guys hitting her up. You made it all the way to the first interview. You're really going to ruin it by showing up with shorts on or sweatpants on or a jersey of some sort. You know, if you've got shorts on, fine. That's not a disqualifier, but it needs to be one of those really nice, like golf shorts. You know, the dressy type of ones with a nice shirt on or whatever, depending on the climate. I mean, I live in Florida, so it's humid. It's hard to wear dress pants and pants because you sweat from your car to walking inside. So. But I promise you, I never wear basketball shorts to a date. I'm always looking good. So you have to understand that first impressions really, really mean a lot. And you have to understand that amongst all the guys who want her attention, she's only going to be able to pick one because women are not polyamorous by nature. They're monogamous by nature. So they're only going to choose one guy. Smelling good is equally as important. You got to take care of your hygiene. Take a damn shower and brush your freaking teeth. Okay. Yeah. If you show up to a date, or if you've ever shown up to a date and you did not brush your teeth and take a shower, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing?
That happens?
It does. It does. I constantly get women talking about the bad breath of the men that they deal with, and how they. I mean, think about it. You walk up and the first meet and greet, you're giving her a hello. Hi, like a hi, hello, right? A hug.
And halitosis.
Yeah, and you're just and your breath smells like a can of freaking sardines. You know, your breath smells like your breath smells like a bucket of crushed assholes, and you just walked up on her and breathing your dragon breath all up in her snout, and you just disqualified yourself right there. So stop, okay. Make sure you dress good each and every time, and take your physique into account also. And here's what I mean. Okay. So there's all men have different physiques. If you're in shape, then wear something to complement it, right? If you're not in the condition you want to be, then wear something that's not going to accent a big beer belly or a deconditioned physique. You know, not everyone has to be
deconditioned. Did you call it deconditioned?
I'm trying not to say your fat ass. That's what I'm trying not to say. Okay. Wear something so that way your fat ass doesn't look like you're fat.
I'm not fat. I'm deconditioned. I am using that from here on out.
Correct.
Dude, Jimmy, you're killing me because I just got to say something too. Ladies, that goes for you too. No man wants to kiss a woman whose mouth smells like doo-doo. I'm telling you, and it's bad. I've seen it happen more. often than not. I don't care whether it's my car, whether it's my bathtub, beside my bed. I got extra laying everywhere, man. I keep my breath smelling good and clean. You need to do the same. If you can't take care of that, what else are you letting go of? We don't even want to go there.
100%. And guys, if she breaks out a piece of gum and offers you one, take it.
Oh,
he likes you enough to, not just walk away and like, hey, he's got something there. Here's some gum. Take it. Wow.
Yeah. She's that's her nice way of saying that you have dragon breath. And so she's gonna pop one in her mouth and go, "Oh, here, would you like one?" Do not sit there and go, "Oh no, I'm good." You're an idiot.
Like Brandy keeps offering me gum.
Yeah.
Every time we're around each other, she's like, "Hey, you want some gum?" Now I understand. Oh, I'm sorry, honey.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no.
Yeah, what she should be doing is offering you a toothbrush and some water and some Arm & Hammer and get in there and scrub those freaking chompers of yours. That's what she should be doing. But yeah, guys, just look good each and every time. Look good. Take your physique into account. Choose clothes that complement your body type. Either enhance your body or cover up that dad bod. Whatever applies. So, guys, those are my 3 tips that will help set you aside from everybody out there on the open dating market. And just to recap, that is, make sure you have confidence and high energy, be charismatic, and look good when you go out.
I did see one comment here, which curious is, gentleman here, Mike, what is the best venue to find good women?
Plenty of fish. It just came out. I'm sorry.
Mike, that's a hard one to describe because that's a little more specific and not as broad brushing because I don't know where in the country you live. Yeah. If you live in Chicago, that it'll be a different answer than if you lived in, Newport Richey, Florida, where there's nothing out there. So, that might be one where we do like a one-on-one consult kind of a thing. But the short answer, I guess, is your social network and online dating, just because I don't know anything about you and I don't know where in the country you live. So,
well, that'd be a good thing. How can they contact you outside of this awesome show?
Yeah. So my Instagram is probably a really good way of contacting me. It's not even a private one. You guys can reach me at Jimmy Smith 300 on Instagram. That's JIMMYSMITH 300. You can also reach me at jimmysmith300@gmail.com. And I'll be working on opening up the some business pages for the big show here shortly. I'm just kind of getting all that wrapped up together, but I'll have that. But for now, you guys can reach me on IG at JimmySmith300 or on email at JimmySmith300@gmail.
Dude, and you guys have no idea. We got the privilege to see some of the text messages of the people that you've coached and how crazy it was driving some of these women when they weren't getting the attention that they were used to getting. They were like, How dare you not answer me back? I wish we could share some of those, but I know that that's your client's business, but it works, guys. It works.
Oh, yeah.
If you're confident and you apply some of these tricks. I've seen it, and I wish I would have been able to watch you when I was going through the dating field. And the only reason I can bring up some of those mistakes, Jimmy, is I was the guy doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I wish I could tell you I knew better back then, but I was the guy that wanted to go tell all my problems, wasn't confident. And I see what it got me. You attract what you're going after, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're talking about before you met your wife though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to save you here.
Yeah.
By that time I was ready. It took me a long time. I wish I would have learned this sooner, though. Everything happens for a reason. Everything.
Exactly. All those bad experiences led you up to your wife.
100%. Yeah. That broken road led him right to her.
That's right.
Yeah. I was trying to think, what? Okay, so we got, Jimmy Smith 300 on Instagram, jimmysmith300@gmail.com. You got lots of stuff coming in the future. We got the show rolling, got the new signage out there. Maybe see about getting some merch out there.
Yes.
And again, for current merch on Dad Talk today, we'll see if we can get something rolling there. But current merch, get shirts like this. You see, I won't show the nether regions here, but you got that,
looking good.
Let's see the guns, Dwayne.
Yeah, it shows off the muscles pretty good. So looks good. I mean, my wife said I hate to watch you go, but I love to watch you leave. As I came upstairs for the
That's right.
podcast.
That's right.
But in my sweatpants, I might add.
And guys, one thing I'll say to the audience too, guys, I'm giving hopefully some really good advice that will help you, a lot of you guys out there. If you guys appreciate the advice that I give, do me a favor, hit the like button on Dad Talk Today. Please push the subscribe button. Make sure that you hear the bell ring, because I want you guys to make sure that you're getting notifications whenever Eric and Dwayne and myself are doing these shows here. We put a lot of work into this content. We share a lot of great information and a lot of great stories. And if you guys want to see more of that, then you have to try to help the channel by making sure that you like and subscribe. Also, too, we all know someone who could use a little bit of dating advice, use a little bit of some of these stories that we're sharing. And if you do, then hit that share button and go right down the line and start sharing this stuff out there. That's how you can pay us back. That's how you can throw the rope back.
Yeah. So actually, if you would want to hear Jimmy talk about X issue,
man.
Maybe reach out either on your Instagram, email, or contact the voicemail hotline. I don't know if that's on the table, the 762-441-0281. Leave a quick under 3-minute message talking about maybe either some ideas, maybe your experience. Maybe at the very beginning, preface it by saying, "Hey, this is for Jimmy Smith," and maybe do a 3-minute or under 3-minute experience that you've had on a date or something like that. We can play those on air and kind of get into it and just some ideas there. But this is a way to be very interactive here and have y'all tell us your experiences, or if you want to, like, hey, I'm trying to date this guy, girl, whatever, and I just don't know how to go about it. Maybe that a future episode. But yeah, if you guys have ideas, be sure to send those into the show through those different avenues, and definitely put it on the show at some point.
Yeah, and really quick, Deborah, thank you so much for bringing this up, guys. We are at $4,300 out of $50,000 that we are trying to raise for the Mast family.
Yes.
To avenge and to get justice for the death of John Mast. Okay, 43. Actually, we're at 5,300. There was a $1,000 donation that came offline, and in transparency, I want you to know 100% of this is going to the family. I'm going to put that link down in the comments, and I hope you will help us spread that around, because we definitely need it, and it's coming up quick.
Cool, awesome. It's good to hear. So, guys,
talk about who's going to win.
I was just going to say, we're going to do this stuff where we talk about masculinity and dating and, men's health issues and things like that. A lot of these are transferable to guys who are, again, to Dwayne's point, already in marriages. A lot of these are transferable to women as well. So although I speak to a lot of men, these are both transferable to everything. We're going to be doing this every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. So you guys, please be sure to tune in and see, the big show hosted by me, Jimmy Smith, every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And you'll get the color personalities of Dwayne and Eric in here every single week. And we'll try to do the best we can to make you laugh and make you cry and share some stories and just all work together to be the best caliber of men and women that we possibly can.
All right.
Well, all I got left really is, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? Actually, okay, I'm going to tell you how much of a nerd I am. Who's in the Super Bowl?
Oh my goodness! Seriously, right now.
That's
what happens. That's what happens, Eric. When you're more concerned about trying to find the 3rd edition of Spider-Man comic books than you are football. That's what happens right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Seriously, who's in it?
It's the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Football.
Correct. Football. Yeah. American football. Correct. Yeah. There's
American football. Okay.
Who there's
the
brown ball, a bunch of big dudes. Yeah. There's something called an end zone. That's what's happening tonight at 6:30. Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Jimmy, you get a comment down here. Somebody wanted to know if you have a book out.
So I actually, I do not, but I am actually in the midst of writing one. I'm about 65% out right now writing it. It's going to be likely called The 5 Pillars of Balance, where I talk about the 5 most important things that as men and women we must have in order to have a best quality of life. So I should have that book done here over the next few months and things like that, but I am working on it. Thanks for asking.
All right, man. I think it's pretty amazing. The ladies have been lighting up the chat saying you guys are right on. So men, listen, I'm learning here right alongside of you, even though I'm married. I'm going to put some of these tips into my marriage.
Good.
And see, I know I married the right girl here. She asked, what time is Rihanna singing? we're both. I hope the right team gets a whole bunch of home runs. So
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Okay, people, I want to apologize on behalf of my co-host Dwayne. I'm so sorry. I didn't. This was unscripted nonsense that he just spewed out. Please forgive him. He doesn't know any better. Let's just all be happy that he's already married, because he's gonna have, because he would be one of my biggest works of I would have to work with if this guy thinks you can hit a home run in a football game. So
yeah, you'd have to give me a refund. You'd go, nope, I'm just gonna refund your money, and you need to just go.
The only home run you ever hit was finding Brandy and getting her to keep you. So that's
yes, I did. All right, well, Jimmy, you want to close us out?
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in today for this episode of The Big Show by Jimmy Smith. I appreciate it. On behalf of my co-hosts, Dwayne Ward and Eric Carroll, we will see you guys next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.